Welcome back to the part 2 of session 4. In this section, let's examine the more practical side of international market research. International market analysis or international market research will serve three functions. One, it will be scanning this particular market that you are interested in or trying to penetrate to identify opportunities as well as challenges. It will also build a marketing information system to monitor environmental trends. When you say environmental trends, we can talk about economic trends, socio-cultural trends, political trends, the changes that could happen in the market as a result of any of these macro factors changing. Also, it will carry out a primary market research for input into the development of marketing strategies. Not only your product development or to assess the opportunity, but how to tailor make your marketing strategy to suit this particular market. This international market research will help you in doing that. So what are the key steps in doing an international market research? Right, before we go there, I should tell you, any type of research, market research, will cost you. It's a cost. So therefore, you need to look at this cost versus benefit, whether it's your native market or international markets. So therefore, there are certain ways that you can reduce the cost. First, you will base your research on desk research. Initial identification of opportunities based mainly on desk research. What type of information? Accessibility. How do you enter this market? Can I reach this market? Profitability in this market. Market sizes. All these can be gathered with a great accuracy if you know how to do, or if you get the right people to do the desk research. And with that you can assess the level of market development present, level of risk when you enter the market, market attractiveness and company compatibility. Can you operate in this market? Do you have the skills? Do you have the correct match in order to get into this market? Let's look at a stage-by-stage approach when you research these markets. What will you look at first? Market accessibility. How easily can you access these markets? Profitability. Is this market profitable, or is the risk too high? So the profitability is really not very attractive. Market size. Now after this, you can have a desk research in this particular market. You can get into the market and start. If you are satisfied with the market accessibility, profitability, significant market size, yes you have, so then you move your research into that particular market. Then you conduct field research, which will feed your marketing plan and enabling your market entry. Number of markets under consideration reduced at every stage. If you are looking at several markets, you might filter it down to a few or one market where you identify this is my first market that I will enter. The first three stages that I spoke about, market accessibility, profitability and market size, you can do desk research instead of going into a field research, which is much more costlier. This will help you to formulate your strategies. However, you need to keep in mind certain challenges that you would certainly face, especially when you are conducting this market research on underdeveloped markets. You may not have reliable secondary data, or you may have confusing data. You may have contradicting data. You may have cultural issues in gathering information, lack of communication infrastructure, lack of literacy. That is when you go to do your field surveys, field research, limited market research agencies operating in this particular market or has some sort of knowledge in this market. So these are some of the challenges that you might face, especially when you're researching underdeveloped markets. We spoke about desk research. I'm sure most of you all, everyone in fact, would have done some sort of research in your life at least once. Either you would have read a book, a publication, tried to get onto the internet and looked information online. This is called desk research. Whatever you do at your desk, it may need not be actually the desk, but within your office, home, you do some research without engaging people on the street, without getting onto the field. That is called desk research. To do desk research, to conduct this research, you need sources of information. These are some of these sources that we may go when we are doing this type of research activities. Business libraries, university libraries, chambers of commerce, business links, embassies, banks, trade associations. Of course, the internet has a large amount of information about different topics, institutions, markets, behaviors, people, etc. Also, you can go to, you can contact people like your own overseas distributors, sales subsidiaries, trade organizations, trade publications. These are some of the sources of information that you can turn to when you are doing desk research. Now look at this list. The list on your right hand side, so many different types of websites that give lots of trade data about certain markets. Now also you can have different publications, company information systems, databases, market information sources like Business International, Euromonitor, Informat, Mintel. These are some of the companies who conduct market research, specific market research. So these companies will have a lot of secondary data that you may be able to use in your desk research. Some of the challenges in research, always, data is not accurate. Sometimes there is no data available for secondary research purposes. For desk research, you can't find enough data. Then you have no option but to take the high cost option of collecting primary data. Accessibility, accuracy of this data, timeliness of collection. It could be 10 years old. The world is changing so fast, the markets are changing so fast. So information collected 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or even 2 years ago could be in fact obsolete. The way data is collected, reported, interpreted. So all these could result in some inaccuracies or challenges to collecting data for your market research. In field research also, even if you commission an agency, you should be very careful, you should be mindful that there could be issues, such as if you're getting into a different market, language, social, cultural trends, cultural habits, social habits. In sampling, the personal interviewers may have bias recruitment and refusal problems could be there. The questionnaires may not be fully understood by the interviewees. So therefore, you need to exercise extreme care when you do your market research, because as you can very well understand, a set of wrong data, information, inaccurate information will lead to decision making which is not built upon true facts and figures. I'm not going into a lot of details here, but as an international marketing manager, at one point you may have to consider market research, and not only desk market research but could be field research as well. You may have to decide who would carry out this type of activity, who is the best agency for this, or who is the best personnel for this. Do you want to do it in-house with in-house teams or through an agency? If it's an agency, you may want to consider whether it's a local agency that you're going to deploy, or a foreign agency based in that particular market, or with operating offices in your native country, so on and so forth.